Hi there guys, and welcome to yet another week of Jonesy's question time. So before we get started guys, I do just want to kind of ask a quick favour really. I know I'm asking for you to constantly get your questions into me, and I'm saying there's no limit and no restrictions to what you can ask, and I ask you to keep it as varied as you can. Obviously I know a lot of you have followed me from the start, and know that I'm a Leeds United fan and a big football fan, and I know you guys are too. And although I am more than happy to answer questions on Leeds United, can you please try and just vary it a little bit away from that? Because since this one started, I've had so many Leeds United questions in, and although I do like answering them, and I will answer all of them, across all the question time videos, they will get answered. I'd rather not have it so that one question time video is overrun with just Leeds United questions, because I am kind of branching out there now, and I'm getting a lot more subscribers that are watching me for gaming and real life kind of stuff, and other things that aren't Leeds United based. So although I accept that a lot of you do still watch me for the Leeds United stuff, which is great, and it's not a problem at all, like I say, I don't mind answering one or two Leeds United questions or football questions, per week. But this time round I've got 3 Leeds United questions and just kind of 2 other random questions. So after this, can we just try? If you've already asked a question and it's been a Leeds United question, if you're going to ask another one, just vary it up a bit. Something else in life, something to do with music or gaming or other hobbies, or even different sports, just something a little bit different. That'd be absolutely fantastic, guys. But apart from that, thank you everyone for getting your questions in this week. Again, if you could leave them in for other weeks as well, I'm looking for a few more for next week's question time video. But thank you once again, guys, for getting all your questions in. So, going to start off with a Leeds United question. Liam Bestwick on Twitter asked me, what is my favourite memory of being a Leeds United fan? And I've kind of, I've touched upon, favourite moments before in favourite games and everything, but kind of pinpointing a favourite memory, I mean, there's so many. The first full season I had a season ticket, which was the 97-98 season, beating Man United 1-0 with a fantastic David Weatherall header. I will never ever forget that moment, being so young and hearing that noise, and going to my first real football match with such a rivalry. I'll never forget that day. I remember literally waking up that morning and just being so excited and looking forward to it all day. And at such a young age, that was a great feeling. The Premier League days in general were fantastic to see, seeing such great teams and great players, play at Ellen Road, as well as our own team, seeing like the Invincibles team in Arsenal playing against us, even though they did tend to beat us. We did get a good couple of results against them. That was always fun. Obviously, the Champions League nights, watching Leeds United versus Real Madrid when they beat us 2-0. I'll always remember the Leeds United fans giving them a standing ovation at the end of the game as well, because they were such a good team. That was all good. Memories after that, kind of, it is really so hard to pinpoint any Liam, to be honest. There's various goals that I've seen during my time that are always going to stick in the memory. Watching Lucas Radaby's fantastic improvised overhead kick in the UEFA Cup game. I think that was in 98 or 99. I think that'll always stick in my mind. And then kind of later years going down into the Championship and into League One. As bad as the League One times were, I'll get onto that in a little bit. There were so many good memories from actually being down there. The club was a lot more together. Those are just a few of my favourite memories there, Liam. So thank you very much for your question. Moving on to President Turtle on YouTube, my good friend Charlie, of course. He has asked me a very interesting question. He's asked me, When you become a multimillionaire from selling your amazing badger restraint jacket, will you buy yourself, in brackets, or myself, wink wink, a turtle sanctuary? Well, Charlie, I'm very glad you did bring this up, because it's something I feel people have wanted to know for a long time now. Of course, I'll be buying a turtle sanctuary for. It won't just be for me or for you. It'll be for everyone. Everyone will be able to visit the turtle sanctuary, but it won't just be a turtle sanctuary. It'll be an animal sanctuary. It all sorts of animals in there. Of course, the king of the animals are going to be there, the penguin. They'll be sitting up on Penguin Plinth and Penguin Hill. But yeah, going to have all sorts of animals there, from Lee's favourite animal, the gecko, of course. There'll be plenty of those involved. But yes, there will be a special turtle sanctuary area with all the turtles that I will let you personally pick as well, Charlie. You can go out there and choose which turtles you want to be in the sanctuary, including Claire Rice. I'm sure she'll probably be top of your list there. So yeah, of course I'll be doing that, Charlie. That was a silly question, really. It was quite an obvious answer to that one. So, but yes, thank you very much for your question. And moving on to Will LUFC on YouTube. He asked me, how did it feel as a Leeds fan to go down, to be relegated to the Championship and then once again to League One? It was, it was hard. It was difficult, really. When we got relegated from the Premier League to the Championship, I'll have been 13 at the time. 13, because it was 2003, 2004, wasn't it? So, yeah, I'll have been 13. So, obviously, all I'd ever known was Leeds United being in the Premier League, being, top 5, regularly top 5, in the UEFA Cup, in the Champions League, of course. So to then, such a catastrophic decline, it was not nice. It was really horrible. I remember distinctly being at home the day when we were at Bolton and we lost 4-1, and it was that game that did condemn us to relegation. And we actually had some family round that day for a bit of a family gathering, and I remember just sat watching Gillette Soccer Saturday, and it was just awful. It was horrible to watch the score come through, and as a younger fan, I suppose it didn't hit me as much. My dad's, he's followed Leeds United since the 50s. He kind of seen it all before, but it was still, pretty hard and pretty tough for him to take as well. But yeah, we just kind of got on with it, really. Like I say, being young, it didn't hit me as hard. But the going down to League One from the Championship, that was just, again, that was more horrible, really, for me. In the way that it happened, losing to, did we lose or did we draw against Ipswich? I can't remember. But I remember Ipswich getting that goal, and then there was, of course, that the pitch invasion from the idiotic, I don't really want to call them Leeds fans, but the idiotic people that kind of invaded the pitch after that. And it was just the most awful way to go down. Dennis Wise and Gus Poyet had been in charge for sort of the second half of the season, and it was just such a depressing time at the club. The supporters and the fans had kind of stopped turning up. It was a very poor team at the time. We were regularly getting 17,000, 18,000, and it just wasn't enjoyable to watch. It really was just terrible football. And although everyone saw it coming, you still couldn't quite believe it that we went down that day. And we had to quickly realise that this was one of the toughest periods in the club's history, and that we really needed to get back as quick as possible. And although it did take longer than probably what we expected, like I mentioned before, as horrible as it was getting relegated to League One, it did bring everyone together. Dennis Wise had a lot of bad things about him, obviously. He turned out he wasn't the greatest coach or manager, really. But to give him credit, the way that he got the players and the fans all together and all going forward as one at the beginning of that first season in League One, we have to give him a lot of credit for that, really. It was down to him that it kind of brought us all back together. He acquired a lot of players that, maybe skillfully and talent-wise didn't have a lot going for them, but they were determined players that you knew were going to give you 100%, every single match. And that is exactly what Leeds United fans thrive off. We don't all, obviously you want a team that's going to be winning and being successful, but at the end of the day, the minimum that we ask from players and from our team is just to give 100% every single game. And as long as you do that, even if you end up losing the game, at least you've given your all. The worst thing that you can have is a group of players that, just don't want to be there and don't care, which we've had so many over the years, and, certainly quite a few in the current squad. But at that time, we were starting, unbeknownst to us really, to build on what was probably, or what could have been, one of our most successful teams, in quite a while. The likes of Beckford, Howson, Johnson, Snodgrass, so many big names and big players there. And then, you had the grafters like Andy Hughes and David Prutton. And it was just a mix. We had a lot of deadwood, really. Players and loan players that were drifting in and out of the squad, which ultimately kind of was our downfall at times. But really, we had a good core. And yeah, like I said, that the togetherness and the away days and the home matches. I mean, the start of that first season in League One, where we had the minus 15-point deduction. I remember that match where we finally got back to 0 points when we beat Hartlepool 2-0, and Jermaine Beckford scored a fantastic lobbed goal. The atmosphere that day inside Ellen Road in a League One game where there was, I think, 26,000 or something. It was such a magical atmosphere, really, and it kind of summed up, some of the I mean, there were some dark days, really dark days in League One. Hereford away springs to mind, but there were such great days as well, and that feeling of getting out of League One and back into the Championship was, I've mentioned it before on here, but that game against Bristol Rovers just had everything, and it was just amazing. So yeah, that's how it felt, Will. I'm sure you'll know exactly what I'm talking about there. But yeah, many feelings of those two relegations. So moving on to our fourth question now. It comes from Chris Gatenbit on YouTube, who was been a very good follower of mine, and they sent me two questions. So I'll answer one this week, and I'll answer the second one next week, Chris. But this is a really good question. I really like this, and these are the kind of questions that I'm wanting you guys to send in. So he asked me, who or what inspired you to get into media /journalism /YouTube, and when did you first start editing material? So from the age of 16, and well, through all my school life, but going into sixth form, I really had no clue or idea what I wanted to do as a career. I really didn't know. There was nothing that I could kind of specify or pinpoint that I felt I was good at or that I wanted to do. I mean, part of me was toying with the idea of becoming like a sports coach. I mean, as my work experience in year 10, I actually was at Leeds Rhinos, where I did the community coaching there, and the guy who basically looked after us down there at the time said that I had a future in coaching and thought that I was kind of made for it. But I soon kind of made that decision that I didn't think it was quite for me. And then basically during sixth form, I had a next door neighbour move in who worked at Radio Leeds, and at the time I don't think he'd been there that long, so it was just kind of a backroom kind of guy. But then he started sort of reading the sports news out a lot more, and was involved in the West Yorkshire Spotlight Daily thing that they did there. He quickly moved on to doing commentary and everything. So like we got on really well. He's a fairly youngish kind of guy, and he kind of talked a lot about what he did and everything. And being such a big sports fan and listening to sports commentaries over the year and obviously watching it on the TV, it was kind of something in the back of my mind that I always thought, that'd be such a fantastic job to do, to one day commentate on a Leeds United match or something. And it was sort of through that and through him that I kind of thought, maybe a career in journalism or in the media could maybe be, for me, because I was always someone who loved talking about sport and things like that, and I always enjoyed kind of the technical side of things, and I'd always been one to be on a computer and creating my own little ideas and everything with my mates, and I just kind of made that decision there and then. When I saw that you could do sports journalism courses at university and everything, I thought, that's absolutely perfect and just what I wanted to do. And around that time I started, my next door neighbour asked if I wanted to go down to Radio Leeds a couple of times and, do a bit of shadowing there and just see exactly what goes on. And it was just perfect for me. It was exactly what I wanted to do. So, obviously went to university and went through that time. And again, it was still, nothing really put me off. I quickly came to realise that it was a very niche and very hard career path to go down, and a very hard career to get into. It was more of, who you know rather than what you know. But, it was still, in my mind, it was something that I was just going to do. It was what I'd always wanted to do since sixth form. And it wasn't until I left university. Obviously, I'd done a lot more experience during my time at university at various radio stations and other things as well. I left university. I was offered a job at Radio Leeds based on shift work, and it was as a broadcast assistant, so kind of just how Gareth had started, my next door neighbour, doing basically running the show, like the sports show that would go out on a Saturday whilst there were live commentaries. So making sure that it went out live okay, making sure that I was clipping and editing together at the time, any highlights, getting the interviews after the game, bringing shows back together and made sure they went out on the right frequencies, all kinds of background stuff like that, all very technical. But it just, I wasn't getting all the shifts that I wanted, and ultimately I wasn't doing what I wanted to do. I did so many voluntary work placements as well during and after uni, and it quickly became apparent to me, sort of after a year and a half after university, of not really getting anywhere, that I just needed to call it a day there, which was a shame. And I don't really regret it, really, because I learnt so much during that time, and I felt that if I would have carried on, maybe something could have come up by now. But I do feel a lot happier now. I felt so much stress then, worrying about where my next shift was coming from and where I was going with it all, and it was a big stress, but it was just something I had to do. So that's what inspired me to get into media and journalism. The whole YouTube thing really came about when I was trying to find a way to kind of satisfy my need to kind of do that media side of things. YouTube was something I'd always watched, but it was just for watching the odd video here and there. It wasn't until maybe 2012, end of 2012, that I kind of noticed that people were, had their own channels on YouTube and would do regular content, especially kind of gaming kind of side of things. And I started watching people like Nerdcubed, who I've mentioned before. Toby Games as well was one of the first YouTubers I watched properly. And I saw that other people kind of did vlogs and talked about things, and I thought, maybe this is just something I can do on the side whilst I get, a proper career going in my actual life and everything. And yeah, it just started off as a hobby, talking about the Leeds United stuff. And obviously another passion of mine was gaming, so I thought that's something I can try and do. And yeah, so it basically all stemmed from, I always say my first inspiration with getting into YouTube was definitely NerdCube, because his style and the way he went about things just made me think, yeah, I can do that. Not never going to be as good as him, but it was something I felt I could follow suit with, really. And the first time I started editing material, I suppose, was university. We did a lot of editing then, obviously TV wise and radio wise. That kind of introduced me properly into editing software. Used it a lot at Radio Leeds and Yorkshire Radio at the time as well. So it was really through university that got me kind of savvy with all editing skills and all the different software that was out there, and that just kind of seamlessly went into how I could do things here on YouTube. Use the same editing software. There are some things that I still need to kind of improve on and work on, because it is a tough thing, editing. It is not an easy job that people think it is. There's a lot more to it than what people realise. So there's a long way for me to go in this, and a lot of ways I can improve myself, definitely. So yeah, I think I've answered all your questions there, Chris. So yeah, thank you very much for your question there, and like I say, I'll answer your second one next week. So finally, TR Gaming on YouTube asked me, do you think Redders, Neil Redfern, will stay on at Leeds United next season? So obviously Neil Redfern is the head coach at Leeds United, and has been for the majority of the season, really, with the other ins and outs at the club as well. Do I feel he will stay on at the club? Put it this way, I would be extremely surprised if he was still the head coach next season. But for me, it all depends whether Massimo Cellino is still in charge, whether it's the Italians that are still in charge. To be quite honest, if they are, I really can't see him being at the club any longer, especially with how things have kind of gone over the weekend and these past few days. I think there's a definite kind of rift there between the coaching staff, the majority of the players, and then you've got the board and the Italians and the Italian players, which is really awkward, really, but it kind of just sums up Leeds United and the way things are there at the moment. However, if Cellino was to go, and someone with the right frame of mind and the right feelings for Leeds United kind of came in and took over, I think he would see that Redfern, given a chance, could do a really good job for us in the Championship. I think he's proved himself under the toughest of circumstances this year that he can do it. And I think, you look at the way he's brought the young players on and into the squad and how big a part they are of our team. I mean, they're practically the core of Leeds United right now, and that's all down to Neil Redfern. So I would love to see him still at the club next year. But like I say, for me, that all depends on who is running the club. And hopefully it won't be Cellino. And if that is the case, like I say, I think Redfern will still be there. However, if Cellino is still in charge and he gets his way, then yeah, he's not going to make it to pre-season for me, Redfern, unfortunately. So yeah, there we are. That's the 5 questions for this week. I think we've run a little bit over 20 minutes this time, guys. But yeah, thank you very much for your questions there. It's been quite an interesting one there. A little bit rambly, actually, I felt that one. But I hope you enjoyed it all the same, guys. So as I mentioned, please do send so many questions. Do not stop sending me questions, either in the comment section to these question time videos or at my Twitter at ChrisJonesLUSC. But as I mentioned at the start, please try and keep it a bit more varied than just Leeds United questions. So if you have already asked me a Leeds United question or sent one in, then send a different one. And also, before you send in a question, maybe just have a skip through my other videos to see what's already been asked, because some people have already kind of duplicated a few of the questions, which is fine. I don't expect everyone to have watched all the videos so far, but yeah, just give a quick watch first so you can see what people have already asked. But yeah, variety is the best thing for this question time video, because like I say, although I realise that a lot of you out there are Leeds United fans and everything, you know, I want this to be a Jonesy's question time, not a Leeds United question time. And like I say, you know, a lot of my subscribers now aren't sports fans or Leeds United fans, so the more varied I can keep it, the better, please, guys. But yeah, thank you very much everyone for watching, thank you everyone for sending in your questions, and thank you for all your support as usual. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you all very soon.